The stars looked different from Harmony Point. Commander Allison Wright often stood by the large viewing window during her breaks, watching the distant suns twinkle against the black backdrop of space. After 3 years as the human liaison aboard the diplomatic station, she still felt like an outsider. The year was 2157, and humans had been part of the galactic community for just over 30 years. First contact had happened when Allison was still a young girl. She remembered the mixture of fear and wonder that swept across Earth when the galactic consortium of civilized species revealed themselves to humanity. Admiring the view again, Commander? The voice belonged to Trelkvor, a tall, blue-skinned diplomat from the Navari species. His 4 eyes blinked in sequence, a gesture Allison had learned meant friendly curiosity. "Just thinking about how far we've come," she said with a small smile. "My grandfather would never have believed humans would be sitting at tables with beings from other worlds." Trelkvor made a clicking sound that served as his species' version of laughter. "And yet here you are, though I must say the consortium has been slow to fully welcome Earth into the fold." This was an understatement. Despite 3 decades of peaceful relations, the United Earth Alliance was still treated as a junior partner in galactic affairs. Humans were allowed to colonize a handful of worlds, but many technologies were kept from them, classified as not suitable for developing species. Allison's communicator beeped. "Commander Wright, your presence is requested in Council Chamber 3. The emergency session begins in 15 minutes. "Emergency session?" she asked, looking at Trelkvor. "Was something scheduled that I wasn't informed about?" The alien's upper eyes narrowed, a sign of concern. "I was not informed either. We should hurry." They walked quickly through the curved hallways of Harmony Point. The station served as neutral ground for the 27 species that made up the Galactic Consortium. Its ring-shaped design housed embassy suites, meeting chambers, and cultural exchange centers. At the heart of the station was the Grand Council Chamber, where major decisions affecting the galaxy were made. Council Chamber 3 was smaller, typically used for subcommittee meetings or sensitive discussions. When Allison and Trelkvor arrived, representatives from 9 species were already seated. The tension in the room was thick enough to cut with a knife. "What's happening?" Allison asked, taking her seat at the human delegation's small table. A holographic display flickered to life in the center of the room. It showed a planet, one Allison recognized immediately: New Eden, humanity's largest colony outside the solar system, home to over 1.2 million people. The image changed to show a fleet of ships in orbit. They weren't human vessels. Their sleek predatory design marked them as Zoraxian, a species known for their militaristic culture and belief in their genetic superiority. "This transmission was received 43 minutes ago," said Councillor Zhen, the grantee representative, who was chairing the session. The image shifted again. Now it showed the surface of New Eden, or what had been the surface. Where cities should have stood, there were only smoking craters. The colony's capital, New Seattle, was simply gone. Allison's blood ran cold. "What happened? Where are our people?" "The Zoraxian Empire has declared that they carried out a preemptive defensive action," Councillor Zhen said, his voice flat and emotionless, as was typical for his species. "They claim intelligence suggested the colony was developing weapons, technology forbidden under consortium treaties." "That's a lie." Allison stood up, her chair scraping against the floor. "New Eden was a scientific colony. Agricultural research, medical facilities. There were families there, children." From across the room, the Zoraxian representative, General Draz, looked at her with 4 yellow eyes. His scaled skin rippled with what she had learned was amusement. "Your species' tendency toward emotional outbursts is precisely why the consortium restricts human access to advanced technology," he said. "Our intelligence was clear. Your colony was researching biological weapons capable of targeting specific genetic markers." "That's absurd," Allison shot back. "We would never—" "The evidence has been provided to the Security Council," interrupted Councillor Zhen. "The Zoraxian Empire has requested this emergency session to explain their actions and present their findings. For the next 2 hours, General Draz presented what he claimed was proof of human weapons research. Most of it was technical data Allison couldn't follow, but she knew enough to recognize that much of it was either fabricated or twisted out of context. When he finished, Counselor Jen called for a vote on whether to condemn the Zoraxian action or accept their explanation. The result was 7-3 in favor of accepting the Zoraxian explanation. No sanctions, no reparations, no justice for 1.2 million dead humans. Allison sat in stunned silence as the meeting adjourned. Trelkfor approached her, genuine sorrow in all four of his eyes. "I voted against accepting their explanation," he said quietly, "as did the Viridians and the Tellurians. But the core worlds control the consortium, and they have always been cautious about human potential." "Cautious?" Allison's voice was barely above a whisper. "They just allowed the slaughter of over 1 million innocent people. Politics in this galaxy are complex, Commander. The Zoraxians have powerful allies. Many species fear what humans might become if given access to all our technology. Your adaptability, your creativity, these qualities make others nervous." Captain Daniel Powell of the UEA vessel Defiance was waiting for her outside the chamber. His face was grim. "I've recorded the Council's decision," he said. "The transmission to Earth is already sent." "How could they?" Allison asked, her professional composure finally breaking. "How could they just accept this?" "They've never seen us as equals," Powell said. "To most of the consortium, we're dangerous primitives who should know our place." 3 days later, United Earth Alliance President Gregory Summers addressed humanity. In a broadcast seen on Earth in every human colony and outpost, "My fellow humans," he began, his face solemn. "3 days ago, we suffered the greatest tragedy in human history since the last war. The colony of New Eden, home to 1.2 million of our people, was destroyed by forces of the Zoraxian Empire." He paused, letting the weight of his words sink in. "We took our case to the Galactic Consortium, believing in the principles of justice and cooperation they claim to uphold. Today we learned that in this galaxy, there is no justice for humanity except what we create ourselves." His eyes hardened. "I have signed Executive Order 157, activating Protocol Lazarus. To our friends among the stars, we remain open to peaceful relations. To our enemies, know this: the people of Earth have a long memory and we protect our own." Aboard Harmony Point, Commander Wright watched the broadcast in her quarters. She knew what Protocol Lazarus meant. It was a contingency plan created shortly after first contact, a plan for how humanity would respond if the galaxy proved hostile. Her communicator beeped. It was a secure channel from Earth Command. "Commander Wright," said the voice of Admiral Frank Donovan. "It's time to come home. We have work to do." As she packed her few possessions, Allison looked out her viewport one last time at the stars. They still twinkled, cold and distant. But soon she thought they would learn that humanity burned much hotter than they ever imagined. 6 months passed since the New Eden massacre. To the watching galaxy, Earth seemed to have accepted its loss. Human diplomats still attended consortium meetings. Trade continued with friendly species. The grief of losing over 1 million colonists appeared to have dulled into resignation. The Zoraxians grew bolder. They established military outposts near 3 more human colonies, claiming they were monitoring stations to prevent further weapons development. The consortium approved these stations by a narrow vote. Commander Allison Wright no longer wore her diplomatic uniform. Back on Earth, she had been reassigned to a small unmarked building in the Rocky Mountains. Today, she sat across from Admiral Frank Donovan, reviewing intelligence reports. "The Zoraxians don't even try to hide their contempt," she said, pointing to a screen showing alien ships patrolling near the human colony of Arcadia. "They're daring us to respond." Admiral Donovan nodded, his weathered face grim. "Let them think. We're weak. It works in our favor." He tapped a command into his tablet, changing the display to show a massive construction facility hidden in the asteroid belt. "Protocol Lazarus is ahead of schedule." The images showed shipyards, hidden from alien observation by advanced stealth technology. Dozens of warships were taking shape, unlike anything humanity had built before. How did we manage this in just 6 months? Allison asked. We didn't, Donovan replied. These programs never fully shut down after first contact. President Summers' predecessor kept them running in secret, just with minimal funding. Lazarus reactivated everything at full capacity. A knock at the door interrupted them. Dr. Olivia Martinez entered, carrying a stack of data tablets. Her dark hair was pulled back, and deep circles under her eyes suggested she hadn't slept in days. The reverse engineering team has made another breakthrough, she announced, spreading the tablets on the table. We've not only matched Zoraxian shield technology, we've improved it. Their sensors won't be able to penetrate our defenses, but ours can see through theirs. Admiral Donovan smiled. This is why the aliens were right to fear us, Doctor. Human innovation at its finest. Dr. Martinez didn't smile back. It's not just technology. Lieutenant Chambers' team discovered something interesting about Zoraxian biology. She activated one of the tablets, displaying complex genetic information. They've engineered themselves to be resistant to many diseases and toxins, but their modifications created new vulnerabilities. Vulnerabilities humans don't share. Allison looked up sharply. You're suggesting biological warfare? I'm providing information, Dr. Martinez said carefully. What command does with it is above my pay grade, but yes, we could develop agents that would harm them without affecting humans or most other species. Admiral Donovan was silent for a long moment. The Zoraxians accused us of developing biological weapons as an excuse to kill our people. There would be a certain poetry in making their lie come true. The door opened again. A young officer entered and saluted. Admiral, the Retribution has completed its shakedown cruise. All systems performed beyond expectations. The Retribution was the first of the new Harbinger-class destroyers, ships built with a combination of human ingenuity and reverse-engineered alien technology. Officially, such vessels didn't exist. Excellent, Donovan said. Begin mass production. I want 50 Harbingers ready by next month. After the officer left, Allison voiced the question that had been troubling her. Sir, even with these advancements, we're still outnumbered. The Zoraxian fleet is 5 times the size of what we could build in a year. Quality over quantity, Commander, Donovan replied. Besides, we don't need to defeat their entire empire. Just make it clear that attacking humans carries an unacceptable cost. Later that day, Allison received an encrypted message from her old friend Trelkavor. The Navari diplomat had been one of the few alien voices to condemn the New Eden attack. His message was brief but alarming. The Zoraxians plan to celebrate the half-year anniversary of what they call the Human Correction, with military parades, next week. Several consortium members have sent representatives. Be warned, many see this as the beginning of a campaign to push humans back to your home system. Allison took this information directly to President Summers. She found him in the White House Situation Room, surrounded by military advisors. So they're celebrating our tragedy, Summers said after reading the message. Making it a public holiday. Yes, sir, Allison confirmed. According to Trelkavor, the Zoraxian Emperor himself will lead the ceremonies. The president exchanged looks with Admiral Donovan. Some unspoken communication passed between them. Commander Wright, Summers said, how would you feel about rejoining the diplomatic corps? Allison was confused. Sir? We need someone to deliver a message to the Galactic Consortium, someone who understands what we lost at New Eden. Understanding dawned on her. You're ready to respond to the massacre. President Summers nodded slowly. The Retribution is ready. So are we. 2 weeks later, the 1-year anniversary of the New Eden massacre arrived. On the Zoraxian homeworld, massive military parades filled the streets of their capital city. The Emperor stood on a high platform, watching his troops march in perfect formation, their weapons gleaming in the light of their red sun. In orbit above the planet, 50 ships appeared suddenly, emerging from faster-than-light travel much closer than should have been possible. The Zoraxian planetary defense grid, considered among the most advanced in the galaxy, went mysteriously offline at the same moment. Aboard the Retribution, Admiral Donovan opened a channel to the surface. "People of Zorax," he said, his voice calm and measured. "1 year ago you taught humanity a lesson about galactic politics. Today we demonstrate what we've learned." On the planet's surface, confusion turned to panic as the transmission reached military commanders. Ships in orbit scrambled to respond, but found their targeting systems couldn't lock onto the human vessels. At the consortium headquarters on Harmony Point, an emergency session was called as news of the human fleet's appearance spread. Delegates rushed to the Grand Council chamber demanding information. Commander Allison Wright, now Ambassador Wright, walked calmly to the center of the chamber. The room fell silent as she placed a small device on the speaking platform. 1 year ago, the Zoraxian Empire murdered 1.2 million human civilians, she said, her voice echoing through the chamber. The consortium chose to do nothing. Today, humanity has chosen to act. The device projected a hologram showing the human fleet in orbit around Zorax. As I speak, the Zoraxian military command structure is being dismantled. Their ability to threaten other species ends today. General Draz, the Zoraxian representative, leapt to his feet. "This is an act of war. We demand the consortium intervene immediately." Ambassador Wright looked at him coldly. "Humanity no longer recognizes the authority of the Galactic Consortium. We are at war with the Zoraxian Empire. Any species that aids them will share their fate." As she turned to leave, the hologram changed to show thousands of files being transmitted to every species representative. "These are the records of Zoraxian war crimes against dozens of less developed species," Wright explained. "Atrocities the consortium has chosen to ignore for centuries. Read them, then decide whose side you wish to be on." She walked out of the chamber, leaving stunned silence behind her. The galaxy was about to learn a painful lesson. Humanity's patience had limits, and they had been reached. The Prometheus Protocol took effect within hours of its deployment. Admiral Frank Donovan watched from the bridge of the Retribution as the Zoraxian military bases across the planet went silent one by one. The biological agent, designed to target only Zoraxian DNA, didn't kill. Instead, it induced a deep sleep state from which they would recover in about a week. By then, their military infrastructure would be dismantled. "Confirm all targets are neutralized," Donovan ordered. Lieutenant Eric Chambers, now promoted to captain after his work on Zoraxian biology, checked the readings. "Confirmed, sir. 98% of military personnel are affected. The remaining 2% appear to be off-worlders or hybrids with different genetic markers." "Begin Phase 2, the Admiral said. Across the Zoraxian homeworld, smaller ships detached from the Harbinger-class destroyers and descended to the surface. They carried specialized teams with a clear mission: secure all military technology, weapons, and command centers. Unlike the Zoraxians had done at New Eden, the humans avoided civilian areas entirely. Captain Chambers approached the Admiral. "Sir, we're receiving transmissions from several Zoraxian colonies and outposts. They're threatening retaliation." Donovan nodded. "Expected. Send the prepared response." Throughout Zoraxian space, military commanders received the same message: "Your homeworld is under human control. Your leadership is incapacitated. Any aggressive action will result in permanent removal of your species' ability to wage war. This is your only warning." Some believed the threat. Others did not. 3 Zoraxian battle groups launched toward Earth in defiance. They never arrived. The human fleet had placed jump inhibitors throughout the travel routes to Earth. Technology, reverse-engineered and improved upon by Dr. Olivia Martinez's team. When the Zoraxian ships attempted faster-than-light travel, they found themselves stranded in empty regions of space, their engines disabled. Meanwhile, in the Grand Council chamber of the Galactic Consortium, chaos reigned. Ambassador Samuel Harris, who had replaced Allison Wright as Earth's representative, stood calmly in the center of the storm. "The human action is unprecedented," shouted the representative from the Krill Dominion, a longtime ally of the Zoraxians. "We demand immediate sanctions." "The humans must be quarantined to their home system," added another diplomat. "Their aggression threatens galactic stability." Ambassador Harris waited for the shouting to subside. When he finally spoke, his voice was quiet, but carried to every corner of the chamber. 6 species in this room voted to excuse the murder of 1.2 million human civilians, he said. 4 more abstained. You declared that our lives were worth less than galactic politics. Now you're surprised that we took matters into our own hands? He gestured to the files that Ambassador Wright had distributed earlier, evidence of Zoraxian atrocities against developing species. For centuries, the consortium has allowed the strong to prey on the weak. The Zoraxians destroyed 17 emerging civilizations before humanity even achieved spaceflight. Where were your demands for sanctions then? The Viridian representative, whose species had long opposed Zoraxian expansion, stood. The Viridian Republic supports the human action. Too long have we allowed the Zoraxians to act without consequence. This triggered another round of shouting. Eventually, a coalition began to form. 7 species, mostly those with powerful militaries or close ties to the Zoraxians, declared themselves the Coalition of Order and promised to restore the status quo by force if necessary. Ambassador Harris simply nodded. Earth anticipated this response. Let me be clear. Any species that moves against humanity will be treated as we have treated the Zoraxians. We do not seek conflict with you, but we will not hesitate to defend ourselves. With that, he left the chamber. The lines had been drawn. Back on the Zoraxian homeworld, Admiral Donovan received word of the Coalition's formation. He wasn't surprised. The plan had accounted for this possibility. Send word to Earth Command, he told his communications officer. Activate Phase 3. Phase 3 was already underway. Dr. Martinez had been working around the clock in a secret facility beneath the Pacific Ocean. The technology she and her team had developed went beyond anything the galaxy had seen. President Summers visited the facility to witness the first test. He found Dr. Martinez in her lab, surrounded by holographic displays showing what appeared to be tears in the fabric of space. Is this what I think it is? He asked. Martinez nodded, her eyes bright despite her exhaustion. Subspace travel, Mr. President. The aliens use hyperspace jumps, moving through a higher dimension to cross vast distances. We've found a way to move through a lower dimension. What's the advantage? Their sensors can't detect ships in subspace. Their defenses can't stop us. It's like we're moving underneath the floor while they guard the doors and windows. President Summers studied the displays. How soon can we deploy this? The first squadron of frigates has already been fitted with the drive system. They're small, fast, and completely undetectable. Admiral Donovan has assigned Captain Peter Johnson to command them. The president nodded. And the other project? The one Commander Wright suggested? Dr. Martinez gestured to another section of her lab, where a team worked on what looked like small metallic spheres, each about the size of a tennis ball. Quantum-entangled drone swarms. Once deployed, they can't be jammed or controlled remotely, because each unit shares a quantum state with its control system. They'll overwhelm any defense grid in the galaxy. Good, Summers said. The Coalition will likely make their move soon. We need to be ready. He was right. 3 days later, a Coalition fleet assembled at the edge of human-controlled space. 20 capital ships and their escorts, the largest military force seen in the sector in over a century. Captain Johnson's subspace squadron detected their arrival. His 6 frigates, tiny compared to the Coalition warships, slipped into subspace and emerged directly in the middle of the enemy formation. Before the Coalition ships could react, the frigates deployed their drone swarms. Thousands of the small spheres spread out, attaching to vital systems on the larger vessels. They didn't destroy the ships, just their weapons, engines, and communications. Within 15 minutes, the entire Coalition fleet was dead in space. Captain Johnson opened a channel to the flagship. This is Captain Peter Johnson of the United Earth Alliance. Your vessels have been neutralized. You will be provided with enough power to return to your homeworlds at sublight speed. It will take you several months. Use that time to reconsider your position on humanity's place in this galaxy. As the Coalition fleet drifted powerless, another human vessel appeared. The Harbinger-class destroyer Nemesis carried Ambassador Wright, now promoted to the rank of commander once again, and serving as a special envoy. This message is for the leaders of all coalition worlds, she broadcast. Today, you sent your finest ships and bravest warriors to subdue humanity. They failed. We could have destroyed them. Instead, we showed mercy. She paused, letting her words sink in. Remember this. We did not start this conflict. We did not attack your worlds. We sought only justice for our murdered colonists. You still have a choice. Continue this war and face the consequences, or accept that humanity will no longer bow to those who consider us lesser beings. The message spread across the galaxy. The age of humans as a minor power had ended. A new era had begun. News of the Coalition fleet's defeat spread quickly across the galaxy. The once mighty warships limped home at sublight speed, a visible reminder of humanity's new power. Some species withdrew from the Coalition immediately. Others doubled down on their commitment to stop the humans. On Earth, citizens gathered in streets and parks to watch President Summers address the planet and its colonies. His image appeared on screens large and small, his expression solemn despite their recent victories. Fellow citizens of Earth and her colonies, he began. 2 weeks ago, we demonstrated to the galaxy that humanity will no longer accept being treated as lesser beings. The Zoraxian military machine has been neutralized. Their allies' attempt to punish us has failed. Yet our work is not done. Paused, his gaze direct and unwavering. This was never about revenge. The dead of New Eden cannot be brought back. This was about ensuring that no human colony ever suffers such a fate again. To achieve this, we must reshape a galaxy that has known only the rule of the strong over the weak. Across human space, people cheered. After decades of being treated as primitive newcomers, humanity had turned the tables. But far from Earth, the war continued. The remnants of the Zoraxian fleet regrouped at their colony worlds. Several coalition species sent reinforcements. A new offensive was being planned, this time aimed at the heart of human territory, the Sol system itself. Admiral Frank Donovan received the intelligence reports in his new headquarters on Mars. The red planet had been transformed into humanity's military command center, protected by layers of defenses that incorporated the best of human innovation and reverse-engineered alien technology. They're gathering at Epsilon Eridani, he told his assembled commanders, pointing to a star map. It's their biggest shipyard outside Zoraxian space. If we let them complete their buildup, they'll have a fleet 3 times the size of what we faced before. Captain Eric Chambers studied the map. Their defenses will be much stronger this time. They know what we can do now. Which is why we won't do the same thing twice, Admiral Donovan replied. He nodded to Commander Allison Wright, who activated a holographic display showing a new type of ship. This is the Shadow Blade, she explained. Dr. Martinez has combined our subspace drive with a phase-shifting technology we derived from studying Viridian cloaking devices. These ships can literally move through solid matter, the commanders murmured in surprise. Such technology should be impossible by the galaxy's understanding of physics. I'll lead the strike force, Donovan said. We'll hit their shipyard directly, bypassing all outer defenses. 3 days later, 5 Shadowblade cruisers dropped out of subspace directly inside the massive shipyard at Epsilon Eridani. The facility was built inside a hollowed-out asteroid, with only a few heavily guarded entrances. The aliens had assumed this made it impenetrable. They were wrong. The human ships phased into existence within the construction bays. They didn't open fire. They didn't need to. Each Shadowblade carried a specially designed device that, when activated, created a localized subspace field. Any matter caught in the field was gently shifted half a phase out of normal space. The effect wasn't harmful to living beings. They would simply find themselves floating, unable to interact with normal matter until the field dissipated in about a week. But the shipyard's infrastructure, partially constructed vessels, and weapon systems were instantly rendered useless. Admiral Donovan opened a channel to the shipyard's command center, where alien officers floated helplessly. Your shipyard is neutralized, he stated simply. When the effect wears off, you'll find all your weapon systems and engine cores have been removed. We suggest you repurpose this facility for peaceful endeavors. With their main shipyard disabled, the Coalition's planned offensive collapsed. 3 more species withdrew from the alliance against humanity. The Viridian Republic, impressed by human restraint and victory, formally proposed an alliance with Earth. Meanwhile, Captain Peter Johnson led a different kind of mission. His subspace frigates traveled to Zoraxian slave worlds, planets where the Empire had subjugated less developed species. Instead of weapons, his ships carried supplies, medical aid, and liberation. On the planet Terrace III, Johnson's team found thousands of Glissari, a delicate crystalline species, forced to mine rare minerals under harsh conditions. The Zoraxian overseers fled at the first sight of human ships. "We were told humans were violent primitives," said the Glissari elder, her translucent body shimmering with emotion. "That you would shatter us for sport if you found our worlds." "Those were lies," Johnson replied. "We've brought supplies and medical teams. Your people are free now." Similar scenes played out across a dozen worlds. Species that had been told humans were dangerous savages discovered otherwise. Word spread through subspace communications that human liberation forces treated the freed people with respect and dignity, something many had never experienced from the civilized species of the consortium. Back on Earth, Dr. Olivia Martinez worked with scientists from newly allied species. The exchange of knowledge accelerated technological advancement at an unprecedented rate. "The Viridians' understanding of quantum mechanics complements our work perfectly," she explained to President Summers during a tour of her facility. "And the Glissari have a unique perspective on crystalline computing that's centuries ahead of our research." The president nodded. "This is what we hoped for. Cooperation rather than domination. How are the projects for the liberated worlds coming along?" "Ahead of schedule. The medical replicators will be ready to ship next week. They'll be able to produce treatments tailored to each species' biology." Not everyone was pleased with humanity's, as the remaining coalition species grew desperate. Their leaders met in secret to plan one final massive assault on Earth itself. They gathered every available ship, believing that if they could strike humanity's homeworld, the upstart species would finally be put in its place. Their plan might have worked, had Commander Wright not established a network of allies among species formerly oppressed by the Coalition. A Nayari servant in the household of a Coalition admiral overheard the plans and passed the information through Wright's network. When the Coalition fleet assembled for their surprise attack, they found the entire human defense fleet waiting for them at the planned jump point. And this time humanity had not come alone. Ships from the Viridian Republic, vessels crewed by liberated Glissari engineers, and representatives from a dozen other grateful species joined the human formation. Admiral Donovan opened a channel to the Coalition flagship. "You came to ensure humanity knows its place in the galaxy," he said. "Look around you. We've found it, standing alongside those who believe in freedom rather than domination. This is your final chance to join us in building a better future, or continue fighting for a past that no longer exists." The Coalition fleet held position for several long minutes. Then, one by one, ships began to power down their weapons. Not all, some turned and fled. But enough stayed to signal the beginning of the end of the conflict. Aboard the human flagship Retribution, Commander Wright allowed herself a small smile. The galaxy was changing, and humanity, once dismissed as primitive newcomers, had become the catalyst. 3 years had passed since humanity's first strike against the Zoraxian homeworld. What the galaxy now called the Liberation War had transformed from a human vendetta into a revolution that swept across the stars. The Zoraxian Empire, once the most feared power in the sector, had collapsed. Its leadership fled to the far reaches of the galaxy, its military dismantled, its slave worlds freed. Captain Eric Chambers stood on the surface of Novalis, once a Zoraxian mining colony, now a free world. Around him, humans worked alongside the native Lumari people, setting up medical facilities and schools. The Lumari were a gentle, plant-like species that had been enslaved for generations. Their blue-green skin soaked up the sunlight as they cautiously approached the humans. "They still seem afraid of us," said Lieutenant Sophia Rogers, who led the medical team. "Can you blame them?" Chambers replied. For centuries they were told that advanced species like the Zoraxians had the right to rule them. Then they were told humans were even worse, violent primitives who would destroy everything. It will take time for them to trust. A small Lumari child approached, holding out a glowing flower. Chambers knelt down and accepted it with a smile. The gesture was simple, but meaningful, the first step toward healing. Similar scenes played out across dozens of worlds as humanity's humanitarian missions expanded. Under Captain Johnson's leadership, the Liberation Fleet had grown from 6 frigates to over 50 vessels, each specially equipped to provide aid tailored to different species' needs. Meanwhile, on Earth, a changing of the guard was taking place. President Gregory Summers addressed a crowd gathered on the National Mall in Washington, D.C. 6 years ago, when I took office, humanity was still finding its way among the stars, he said. 3 years ago, we faced our darkest hour with the New Eden massacre. Today, I stand before you as I prepare to step down, proud of what we have accomplished together. The crowd cheered as he continued. We did not seek war. We sought only justice and the right to exist without fear. When that was denied us, we showed the galaxy that humanity would not be dismissed or destroyed. But more importantly, we have shown that our strength lies not in vengeance but in mercy. He gestured to the representatives of a dozen alien species who stood nearby on the stage. Today I am proud to announce that the treaty establishing the Concorded of Free Species has been ratified by Earth and 27 former members of the Galactic Consortium. Unlike the Consortium, the Concorded is built on principles of equality, mutual defense, and shared prosperity. No species, no matter how technologically advanced, will dominate another. As Summers concluded his speech, the spotlight shifted to his successor, President-elect Natalie Chen. Her election had been seen as a sign of humanity's shift from a war footing to a focus on building a new galactic order. In orbit above Earth, Admiral Frank Donovan and Commander Allison Wright watched the ceremony from the bridge of the flagship Retribution. The vessel, once the spearhead of humanity's military might, was being repurposed as a diplomatic ship. Hard to believe how much has changed, Wright said. 3 years ago we were planning war. Now we're planning peace. Donovan nodded. Peace, through strength. We still maintain the defensive perimeter around human and allied space. The quantum drone swarms keep watch. But yes, the focus has shifted. Wright studied the tactical display showing hundreds of ships from dozens of species moving peacefully through what had once been contested space. Do you think the remaining coalition species will ever join the Concorded? She asked. Some already are, Donovan replied. The Krill signed the preliminary accords last week. Others will follow. Fear kept them in line with the Zoraxians. With that gone, they're reassessing. He turned to face her. Which reminds me, your new assignment. The President wants you to head the diplomatic mission to the outer colonies, including the Zoraxian refugee settlements. Wright raised an eyebrow. The same Zoraxians who celebrated the destruction of New Eden? That will be challenging. That's why she chose you. You understand what we lost, but you also understand that continuing the cycle of vengeance solves nothing. In a laboratory beneath Geneva, Dr. Olivia Martinez worked with an unlikely collaborator, a young Zoraxian scientist named Vexlar. Once part of the Imperial Research Division, he had defected during the war, believing his people's path was wrong. The quantum entanglement is stable, he reported, checking the readings on their latest experiment. This communication system will allow instant messaging across the galaxy. Martinez nodded. And unlike the previous consortium technology, it can't be restricted or controlled by any single species. Everyone will have equal access. Vexalar's scales shifted color slightly, a sign of emotion in his species. My people believed that technological superiority gave them the right to rule. They could have shared knowledge like this but chose to hoard it instead. And now? Martinez asked. Now we learn from your example, he said simply. Strength used. To protect, not dominate. On the edge of what had once been Zoraxian space, a new colony was taking shape. Named Harmony Point, after the old diplomatic station, it was the first joint settlement established by humans and Zoraxians together. The project was controversial on both sides. but President Chen had insisted it was necessary for true reconciliation. Ambassador Samuel Harris visited the colony 6 months after its founding. In a park near the settlement center, he observed something remarkable: a human child and a young Zoraxian playing together, neither aware of the historical significance of their friendship. Standing beside him was Trelkvor, his old ally from the consortium days. "If someone had told me 3 years ago that this would be possible," Trelkvor said, his 4 eyes blinking in sequence, "I would have thought them naive." Harris watched the children. "This is what we fought for," he replied. "Not vengeance, but the right to determine our own destiny and to help others do the same." "Your species surprised us all," Trelkvor admitted. "The consortium believed that without their guidance, less advanced species would destroy themselves and others. Instead, we helped build something better." As the sun set over the colony, lights came on in homes where humans and aliens lived side by side. Ships from a dozen worlds moved through the sky, carrying goods and travelers rather than weapons. In a classroom nearby, a human teacher and a Zoraxian elder jointly taught a group of children from various species about the recent war. They did not hide the atrocities or the pain, but emphasized how former enemies had found a way forward. The galaxy once trembled when humanity declared war, the Zoraxian elder told the children. Now it flourishes because humanity declared peace. One child raised a hand. "But what if someone attacks again? What if they try to hurt us like before?" The human teacher smiled gently. "Then they will learn what those before them learned. That the species of the Concorded stand together. That we are stronger united than divided. And that while we prefer peace, we will always defend our right to exist free from fear." As night fell across the colony, a memorial light shone into the sky, visible for light years around. It honored those lost at New Eden and all victims of the old order. But it also symbolized hope, that from darkness a new and better light could emerge. The era of considering humans dangerous primitives had ended. A new age had begun, built on respect rather than condescension, cooperation rather than domination. And it all started because humanity had shown the galaxy that mercy without strength is weakness. But strength tempered by mercy creates something far more powerful: true civilization.